What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be breaking down Midlane Lycan. Now, a lot of players might be wondering, what the hell are you talking about? Lycan is not a mid laner. I actually definitely think Lycan into certain matchups can definitely be quite a good mid laner. This hero can still push crazy tempo, and with his actual buffs that he's been getting recently, with his agility gain getting increased and also his agility from base has also been getting increased. These changes are very strong for a universal hero that can definitely be pushed over the limit. If he gets another buff, this hero is going to turn from a 51.8% win rate hero to potentially 54 to 55%. So they need to be very careful on how they buff this hero, as this hero being universal was a really big change and what really made carry Lycan for a while kind of strong. Right now, carry Lycan has been coming back in the meta slowly, mostly in higher MMR games like Immortal or high Divine games is mostly where it's happening, as low MMR players typically ignore Lycan, as this just isn't a hero that is very appealing to most players. But this hero is definitely extremely strong. Typically, if you are going to play Lycan from the mid lane, which is a very uncommon position but can definitely be very strong because you can push tempo like no other hero in the game. You're able to take towers super quickly, and you can just go for a very simple item build, which is rushing Helm with the Overlord. If your team is lacking push, if your offlaner is just not the type of hero that is able to push, you are able to get the tower very early from the mid lane. And if you guys do know anything about the mid lane, is that any towers taken early on is a really big advantage, as you can invade their jungle with a hero like Lycan. And his ultimate is absolutely insane. If there are any squishy heroes on the enemy team, they're gonna die within 1 or 2 hits when Lycan is in shapeshift. It's a very strong ability. The cooldown isn't insanely long, it's still kind of long, but it's nice. You also have the ability to go for an item like Aghanim Scepter, which will give you Wolf Bite, which has always been really nice. Back in the day, people used to play the Lycan Tiny, which was a really strong strat that wasn't that long ago, but it was definitely very viable. I definitely think the Scepter can actually work when you're playing with heroes like Tiny, or you're playing with a Faceless Void. It can be very nice for a hero to get that extra attack speed and that little mini crit, which is always going to be fantastic for killing pretty much anybody on the map. I also wanted to mention that according to Dota Buff, his win rate currently is 57.82% from the mid lane, which honestly, I know Dota Buff releases some really crazy stats sometimes for lanes, and his pick rate isn't super high in the mid lane, obviously, as he's not a natural mid laner, but I just felt like that stat was really nice, because it means if you're a Lycan player and you understand his matchups, you can actually play it from the mid lane and get a lot of value and win the majority of your games with it. So if you guys are mid lane Lycan players, definitely let me know in the comment section below. I would definitely like to know. I have played Lycan in the past in the mid lane and it has always been really fun. I would just go for the right click build, but I'm going to tell you guys most of the matchups that Lycan is typically good up against and bad up against. He's typically good versus Zeus, Visage, Arc Warden, Silencer, and Viper. So one of the few heroes that could kind of go toe to toe with Viper, because he has so much regen and minus armor, and the wolves do a lot of damage to Viper. So it's a matchup that can definitely go bad for you, but it's not as bad as it typically would be for other melee heroes. Lycan can definitely hold his own, and if your positioning is right, you can even get a kill. Once you have level 6, you can definitely kill the Viper no problem, as that hero doesn't have a lot of mobility. Arc Warden is another hero that doesn't like to get jumped on top of, doesn't like to lose any arm, as he's a very squishy hero early on, and he's not that strong in the early to mid game. He's more of a late game type of hero when he has a bunch of items. Visage and Zeus are pretty self-explanatory. Zeus only has 1 escape. Once he uses his heavenly jump, he is kind of screwed, and you are able to bridge the gap with your ultimate with shapeshift. You're able to break that gap and able to kill the Zeus quite easily. There's not really much that hero can do, and before heavenly jump, it was such a free game when you were playing mid lane Lycan versus the Zeus. There's just nothing that hero can do, and the matchups Lycan is typically bad up against are mostly illusion heroes like Naga, Axe, Huskar, Troll Warlord, and Sven. Now Axe is popular, Naga is not so popular. Honestly, I don't see that hero too much in my pubs, but Troll has been making a little bit of a resurgence, so I've been seeing the hero a lot more often. I definitely think Troll is a little bit underrated. I definitely think he needs maybe one more buff in order to be a lot more meta and more reliable to be picked. I think if his ultimate gets changed, he can definitely be a lot more viable, but the fact that he can't control your hero is a really big problem for a lot of players to be picking this hero. And Huskar, obviously, he's a lane dominator. It becomes very difficult even for a high regen hero like Lycan and high minus armor. You don't really do a whole lot to that hero, and you typically don't want to buy an item like Vessel on a hero like Lycan. You just don't benefit so much from the item. And Axe is pretty self-explanatory. The hero can clear through your summons quite easily and definitely do a lot of damage to you, as it is pure damage, so he's going to be ignoring all that regen. He's going to be ignoring all that armor. You're going to be having eventually with the Helm of the Overlord. So it's typically a pretty bad matchup, but most of these matchups are not from the mid lane. If you guys end up seeing any of the spirits or any of the melee heroes, Kunkka especially, these heroes can definitely be a really fun matchup for the mid Lycan, as Lycan can definitely eat them alive and he can actually outpush these heroes because they're going to be quite slow early on, and once you get the Helm of the Overlord, you're going to be pushing a lot of tempo, and you can get this item quite early. It's not a 20-minute timing. You can definitely rush it without boots, as this hero is insanely fast. And the builds I would typically like to go on a mid Lycan that I've been seeing the most as well is either the Helm of the Overlord rush, which you end up going for an AC, and then you can even get an Abyssal for extra setup and control, or if you want to pick up some auras to help out your team, you can definitely go for that as well. But typically my favorite build for the mid lane Lycan is definitely always going to be the right click. So it's the Treads, the Echo Saber into Manta, then you can finish the Harpoon, and you can either get BKB Scotty or Basher. So it's all about the right click. You don't need a data list, but you can get items like Monkey King Mar if you see that the enemy has a Radiance or a lot of evasion like Phantom Assassin can have. So you can definitely pick and choose, but Basher is always going to be nice, and that extra attack speed you can get from Monkey King Mart will also be nice, and the AC is just going to help you shred through units. I've even seen people going Echo Saber into Desolator, which is also nice because you have minus armor with Howl, you have the slow from the Echo Saber, you have the pull from the Harpoon, and you have your units as well. It's definitely going to be a very nice combo. I definitely wouldn't get it every single game, but Desolator is definitely a very underrated way to build on Lycan, especially when you're playing him right click. It's always going to be really nice to be able to two-shot supports, and even some tanky heroes, you're able to cut through them quite easily. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys are playing mid Lycan or if you guys think this is just too crazy. I've seen a lot of Immortal games recently with a lot of people playing mid Lycan, so it's definitely something that is coming up in the meta, and I'm definitely super happy as this hero is quite fun to play from the mid lane. If you guys enjoyed this video, a like and comment would be much appreciated. That would help a lot with the YouTube algorithm. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.